Okay, so I discovered there was no wiring on the coil and the ignition control module in the car, which I wasn't quite prepared to deal with. So I was looking around my various wire components and I found this old harness. I think it was from one of the engines I bought where somebody just simply cut the harness off at the firewall. And I can see there's a temperature sensor. This looks like a coil wire. This looks like the oil pressure connector. And of course there's the distributor coil, pickup coil connector, and I don't know what this green one is. Is that maybe tack or something? Maybe it's connected to this. It's a different colored green one. It doesn't have the tracer. If anybody knows what that is, I'd be interested in finding out. It's some sort of bullet style connector. I think this was off of maybe a 78 vehicle, so it maybe got some emissions stuff that wasn't around in the early 70s. So I'm going to take the jacket off this thing and separate the wires and see if I can create some pigtails that I can use to wire up the ignition. So I'm just going to pause the video here, and then when I finish that I will restart. Okay, so yeah, that took a little bit of work, but I now have a distributor connector, green connector, so I'll probably just tape the rest. I left some of the tape on this one, and I'll just leave this as a 3-wire harness. And I've got a small chunk, this is how much was in there, for the temperature sensor. And then I've got a coil wire. We use that for the negative side, I think, and this is for the oil pressure sending unit. So that'll turn on the light on that control box. So I need to think about how I'm gonna get these ones ready for the control box. So yeah, I'm gonna grab a control box and then start hooking these up in the order that they are supposed to go. So yeah, give me 1 second and we'll be right back with the control box. Okay, so I've got a control box and a coil just to see how this is going to work. So the red and the black, these two guys. The green one is going to be unused for the moment. So I think the red goes on the top here. Or sorry, no, this is coil wire. I believe it goes on these two connectors, but anyways, it needs bullet style connectors. So I'm just going to quickly strip some of the wiring back here. These connectors. You don't have any detail on the connector itself. So just look at the car. You got the car. Might try using the old ignition box that's on the car, even though it looks like it's 50 years old. If it works, we'll use it just for testing, getting the car started up. So yeah, there's the pickup coil from the distributor. And now one of these is power, which is going to come from the ballast resistor. Not going through the resistor, it's going to be directly 12 volts. The other one of these is going to go to the coil. So that would be this wire, because it goes on the negative side of the coil, which is used to fire the spark. So that's going to need... Again, this is just so we have the box able to start the car for testing. I think for an actual application in a car, this is probably not the best solution, but this should get us working for at least being able to fire the engine, which is my goal in all of this. So from this one, I'm going to connect a red wire. And I want to to put a fuse in there somewhere very close to the battery, so that in case anything shorts, we'll just pop the fuse. So, and again, I'm going to just put this wherever's convenient. I'm going to use a cable. This one's probably too short, but something like this to connect to the box and then connect it to a good ground, because I know that car doesn't have a ground strap from the engine to the body, so I'm going to have to make sure that there's a really good ground. Normally this would just ground through the body of the car, but that's not going to work well in this case. So and on the other end, you're going to want a spade style connector. So I got one here. So something like this. Probably prefer to have some insulation over the end of it, yeah. So if it was to roughly connect this up, the power go there. I believe, I'm going to double check this of course, but I believe the coil negative signal goes there. Now this isn't super long, so we'll have to make sure we put this box in the car somewhere where that's going to reach. And then these two, I'm not sure if it is polarized or if it matters which way those go. I'll have to Google that. And then that goes to the distributor pickup coil, so that tells the box when to fire. And this signal to the coil actually, sends a ground signal to make it actually physically fire. And then of course, we're going to need a connection from the coil, positive side, goes to the side of the ballast resistor that limits the current. So I think what I need for that, we'll use red wire again. So the other side of this wire should have since it's going to the ballast resistor, should have a spade connector. Got to grab a ballast resistor, so I hope these are the right size. I think it's a pretty standard size, so this should work. And of course, when I'm out in the field, I don't have the luxury of all of my tools with me, or all of the various things that might be required, like extra wire, which is why I'm doing this here now, because I just wasn't prepared to do it the day I was out in the field. But I'm planning to go back in a couple of days and finish the startup of that car and see if it'll run. So yeah, there's the positive coil wire that goes to the other side of the ballast resistor. So I'm just gonna coil that up a bit. And to put that aside, and then this long wire. Oh man, that's a pretty big connection. This goes to the 12 volt side of the ballast resistor. So just coil that guy up. And what else do I need? I guess I can just... I want to remove this green wire, I think, because I don't need it. I honestly don't know what it's for. So I'll probably just take that off remove the green wire and then use some just electrical tape to tape it back up. So it's, since these wires are going to be traveling together, they might as well be taped together. So yeah, I think that's it. Other than that, well, this is the oil pressure. Man, it's dirty. There's a lot of like grease on that. That will need a butt connector. So yeah, want something like that, because it's going to, or I wonder if I should make it disconnect it. Probably not a bad idea. So instead of a butt connector, a couple of bolt connectors would be too bad. Let's see if I got that. Okay, so I found a couple of crimp connectors. So I'm going to, this one will go to the side that's on the control panel so that I can touch this to ground and just check to make sure that the light's actually working. And this one will stay connected to the car. So I'm just gonna, as per usual, take a little bit of the insulation off the end of this wire. Make sure we get a good connection. So just test it here. So if I touch the conductor in there and touch the end here, where it's not covered in grease, I'm going to clean that up. So yeah, we got a connection. There's just a lot of, this was obviously on a car for many years. It's just covered in grease. So yeah, I might take some sandpaper and just clean that up so we have a good connection. Yeah, I think that's it. Now the ground strap from the control box, it's probably something I should make. So I have one. So I got a chunk of wire here, it's black. So if I just put a couple big, I'm also going to take a bunch of self-tapper screws. The only ones I could find were quite short, but they should be adequate. So you can just use a self-tapper to connect this guy to the car. Or if I hold on, okay, so we got 12 volts to the control box. We got 12 volts through the ballast resistor to the coil. We got a ground for the control box. We got the pickup coil and the distributor wire, and we got the oil pressure connector from the sender to the control panel. Now this guy I didn't end up using. I could have. Oh no, sorry, I did use this. This is the negative coil. So that goes to the negative side to actually fire the coil. So yeah, so that should be everything I need to test if that'll fire off. I'm going to take one of these control boxes. I have a number of them. I usually keep one in every car that uses this kind of ignition. And I also keep ballast resistors in every car that has a ballast resistor. I'll probably take this coil just in case. Of course, when I'm at the car, I'll test to make sure there's spark. If the old coil, doesn't provide spark, then swap this one. And if it's going to work, I won't bother swapping in new parts. Yeah, and that's it. So next video, I should be back out in the field with all this wiring, and we should be able to see if we can light off. Okay, that's it. See you in part 2.